Uh-oh. A couple things happened to my supplies, and I was really getting ready to paint, and then something spilled on this. Well, sometimes boo-boos or uh-ohs, or I didn't want to use the word mistake, but sometimes things happen to our stuff. And so let's see what we can do when things kind of go sideways. I'm Miss Therese. Welcome to Art with Miss Therese, and we're going to get started. Well, look what happened. I was getting ready to do an art project here for another video, and something got spilled on this one, and then my water accidentally spilled on this piece of board here, and this could happen to anybody. So let's kind of see what we could do with it. First off, I'm going to clean my brush off. All right, and I'm going to move that over. Remember, tuna fish cans are awesome to keep water in. They don't hold too much. You can drop them, they won't break, and they won't spill too much, and you can change them easily. Well, let's see. I don't have very many of these boards, and I really wanted to do something else, but you know what? Let's see what I could do. I'm going to blot this with a little bit of paper towel, okay? Because I really don't want to lose this piece. And I'm going to come back, grab a pencil. We've done this before. I'm going to do a little border around this and kind of keep looking at what happened in the middle and sort of see. Boy, that wasn't very straight. I'm having one of those days, which is okay. So, what could we do with this to sort of turn it into something? So I'm thinking, let me get my paints back out here again, the ones that I spilled things from, and I'm going to find some colors here. I know this looks kind of messy, and that's all right, but I use this for mixing. Remember, this is my mixing area. This is kind of my storage area or my supply area. Sometimes I'll clean that off, but sometimes I kind of like to keep the paint that's there. So I'm going to come back in here, and I'm using a little bit more water than I usually use, which is kind of how the accident happened, right? And maybe I might come back in with that paper towel, kind of soak that up again, like that. I'm really not sure what this is going to be. It really doesn't have to be anything. I'm going to grab another color here after I wash my brush off. And, boy, you guys can hear my dogs in the background, right? I might have to tell them to simmer down here. So I'm going to take some of the same things that seem to be sort of a uh-oh, or that I didn't expect, but something I wanted to do different. And I'm going to keep doing what I did to fix that mistake, or uh-oh, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to turn this into something kind of fun. Let's keep adding a little more of that color that hey! Simmer down. That I first spilled to get, oh my gosh, brisket. Thank you very much. Okay, so I could leave that as a design there, or what I could do is I could come back in here, and you know what I'm kind of seeing here? I'm sort of seeing jellyfish, so I got a pencil. And jellyfish sort of have like a kind of sort of a blobby shape, and that's what I had here. And so I'm just going to take advantage of that mistake. They have a little sail on the top, and I'm just going to do, and these are the tentacles. I'm going to do, they're going to be longer than that, but they're leaving the page. And another little jellyfish here, like this. And again, I'm just using pencil with this. My paint's still a little bit damp, but this is going to be kind of a little school of jellyfish. So like I say, they're sort of blobby, and I had kind of a blobby little mistake, or whatever it is you want to call it. That's the body of the jellyfish, and that's the sail, and these are the tentacles. And so this is just going to be a whole little school of accidental jellyfishes. I think when something doesn't go like you want it to, you've got to go, what does that look like? And what can I do with that? Now, you might have seen something else in this, which would be just fine. Maybe, I've got my color crayons nearby. I hope everybody has color crayons. And I'm going to grab, let's see, how about maybe a little bit of blue with this. And I'm just going to add to some of those tentacles. Just kind of, as I've said before, just sort of kind of beef them up a little bit. If you look at jellyfish tentacles, they're different widths. So from a mistake, there's my little school of jellyfish. I could come back in, maybe color the sails a little bit more if I wanted, like this. Just to add a little contrast to it. But like, you know, sometimes mistakes happen and you can have like a really nice picture out of it. Well, this is where my little dish of water, my tuna fish can of water sort of spilled because I think somebody bumped the table. It's probably one of my dogs. And so I've got a great big thing of water here. So why not, let me clean my brush off a little bit. Why not come back in and do another thing of water like this, okay? And maybe another thing of water like this. Another one like this. And this way, this doesn't necessarily have to be a picture, but you could do some sort of experimenting with it. And go back in and grab your watercolor and get that blue. And look what happens when you take your brush that's full of paint and there's a lot of water. This is called bleeding. It sort of bleeds out. Now that's kind of a funny term. But I'm just going to kind of see what happens with that. Just sort of experiment. And you could leave it to dry this way, or you could come back in with your, oh boy, I'm picking up a lot here. Well, that turned out even more different. Now what am I going to do with this? Well, I sort of have an idea. So experimenting with my funny little mistakes or accidents or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to kind of leave those. And this is kind of inspiring me. I'm thinking about the ocean today, apparently, a lot. I'm going to make, and we've done this before, take a little bit of the yellow. And again, these are my messy paints. Your paints, you might get them brand new, but they're going to eventually get a little bit messy, and that's all right. I'm going to make a little green. I'm going to use blue with the yellow. All right. And I'm going to do some seaweed. You know, sometimes you just can kind of have one of those days where things just don't go according to plan. And the fun part is changing your plan and having it work. So there's like a little bit of seaweed that way. And then coming back in with my pencil again. Again, things are a little bit damp. I'm going to turn these into fish. You could do your fish shape any way you want. That one I just did a V, kind of a J there, and then a curve line here, and sort of another kind of wedge or upside down V shape there. Another curve, an upside down V here, around this way, a circle or an O and a dot. There's my eye. I might do another little fin like that, another little fin like this. Let's see, what if I had this fish? And again, I'm not following the blob exactly that we did, but I'm just kind of using it as a starting point. I might have this one go the other way. Fish can swim different directions. You never know. And there's one other blob here. Let's do another one. I'm gonna do a curve, a little bit of a V shape there, another curve, a wedge there, curve, a V shape there, curve, a V shape there for the mouth, an O with a dot. For their gills, like I did there and there, just another C shape. Add some lines so that you can really see the fins and the tail. How about two more here? I've got two blobs here. I'm going to do the same thing, a curve, a V, curve, a wedge, curve, a V, curve, a V, like that, an O, a little dot, a C. Gosh, as you've noticed in a lot of my videos, I really like using the alphabet. And one more here. So this was sort of something, I could have recycled this little piece here, and then I thought, you know what, let's just make it work. Now these have kind of faded out a little bit, and same with my seaweed, so I'm going to come back in, add another layer, and notice that I'm not having them all the same way. I like the contrast of light and dark. Keeps things kind of interesting. And then, how about, let me come back in with a couple of those colors. And any colors when you have these things happen is absolutely fine. I'm just going to do some little dots like that. Just to kind of add a little interest to these. And, gosh, I'm keeping going. Of course, oops, I maybe I'll do another little pin there. Forgot to put one there. But look what you can do when something happens to your paper that you didn't expect. Uh-oh. Looks like my paper tore. Well, what can I do with that? I think maybe I just might keep tearing that paper, maybe being a little more control of the tear, like that. If you put your hand down or your finger down, you can kind of hold it down. And what do those remind me of? Kind of looks like mountains. So how about this? I kept tearing my paper that was already torn. I'm going to fold it like this. All right. And so I've got a straight line there. I'll come in with my scissors. I always have my scissors on my desk here. And I'm going to cut that like this. And now I've got a piece of paper that I can completely use again, so I'm going to put that aside. But I still have this torn sheet here. So what if we kept, and again, I'm going to kind of do the same thing here. I'm going to put my hand down, and I'm going to tear some more mountains, okay? Like this. Oh my gosh, and look what happens when you kind of pull it to the side a little bit. You get like a really interesting effect. Or you can hold it like this between your fingers and tear. Like that. And I've got a couple scraps here. Who knows what I can do with those. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with those other ones. I'm going to kind of fold it so I have a nice edge like this. You can kind of eyeball it. If you match up the sides like that, it's going to be fairly straight. And it gives me another little line like that. Get out those scissors again. And remember, if you get kind of tired cutting all the way through, you can always cut halfway and then turn it around and cut it the other way. Let's see. So, and then I have this piece of paper here that looks like, oh my gosh, there's some oil pastels that somebody accidentally put there. Huh. So, how about this? I'm going to cover up those oil pastel things like that and use my glue stick. Get the cap off there. You could use any kind of glue. You could use Scotch tape. Oh my gosh, another thing just happened. My glue stick is dried out. Well, guess what that means? Plan B. So, wait till you see what we're going to do next. Well, that didn't work. So, I happen to have some Scotch tape. You never know. You might have some, there might be a kitchen drawer where you've got a junk drawer and you might have some Scotch tape. So, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep the mountains where I was going to glue them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just Scotch tape them down like this. Okay? And then I'm going to take that second set of mountains. Gosh, that almost looks 3D. That is really kind of cool. And this is not what I had at all planned for today, but sometimes you never know. And I'm going to take my Scotch tape again. And I'm going to tape that down. Just like that. It's about as straight as I probably want or can get it. And then I'm going to fold my paper up like this. All right. Which is going to give me kind of a nice little clean edge like that. And if I really press on it, it's going to kind of stay there. So it almost looks like a little 3D. Well, look at that. It looks kind of 3D. So, well, that's kind of cool. And I'm going to go back to my oil pastels, which I happen to have here. Or you could use your color crayons. And the other night, there was a big full moon out. So how about a big full moon, which is just an O, with my white oil pastels. Okay. Like that. And might add a little bit of purple to it because of the purple in the mountains. It's all up to you. And maybe a little bit more just to kind of give it a little bit of depth like that. So there's that. Aha, I had another idea. I just found a piece of copy paper. It was just kind of hanging around. So I'm thinking this is such a fun 3D thing. What if we did across the top? And this one, here's what I'm going to do here. It's going to help me kind of just give me a little bit of a guide. I'm going to fold that like that, okay? And I'm going to cut this like this. And again, I can go all the way across, or I can do what I've done before, which is to turn it. And that's still going to give me a perfectly usable piece of paper, like the other one that we have. So we rescued those pieces of paper. I just took a little bit off the top. But I really like this tearing effect. So what if I tore some clouds like that. And I like it when it kind of tears like sort of softly on the sides. And again, you can put your thumbs and your fingers together and tear like this. Or you can put it down and hold it and tear it like this. I'm trying to make some thin clouds. I really like looking at those thin clouds at night. So, oh, look at those clouds kind of floating across there. Can add maybe another little small one. So I'm not wasting any paper. I'm just sort of having fun with something that just happened. And I've got to figure a way to put this back down again here. So I might go back to that glue stick that wasn't working so well. And there might be enough left, because the clouds are kind of small. There might be enough left on this old glue stick. As you can see, it's pretty old, but there's still something left in there. And I'm going to put those clouds up. I'm not going to glue them all the way down, because I really like, see, look, I'm getting the most out of this old glue stick here. I really like the 3D effect of them kind of sticking out a little bit, like that. One more little one like this here. I'm gonna get the most I can out of that old glue stick. I'm still gonna put the cap back on just in case. And here's a little 3D scene out of things that we thought we probably weren't gonna be able to use again. And boy, that was kind of fun. It's got me thinking about some other ideas. So, hope that works for you. So, a little water spill, a little bit of extra paint earlier that I didn't expect, and so I went, wasn't what I planned, but let's see what we can do with these things that might be little accidents or little boo-boos or little mistakes. So out of the blobs that were on our little board here, we made a little jellyfish school using the rest of the watercolors and a little paper towel to soak things up, and a pencil to define, along with color crayon to define the jellyfish. And then we have these blobs here, so I just made more of them and turned this into a little school of fish with some seaweed. And look at, we even used this sort of long scrap board, and that might have been something I could have recycled, but hey, worked out pretty good. And then I had a piece of paper that was torn, so we kept tearing it and turned it into mountains and clouds with like kind of a full moon. And you could turn it actually into anything, but we did some folding to kind of keep things interesting, and we didn't put everything down directly, so it has a little bit of a three-dimensional effect to it. I tried my glue stick, wasn't working. So, happened to have some Scotch tape, used a little bit of that to make it work, but we did go back and try to reuse the glue stick, and just so the clouds kind of like show up a little bit. And all of this did was to leave us with, we saved this piece of paper from the torn, and we saved this one from the clouds. So we've got more things to do, more drawing with the next time that I need something like that. So, time for brisket. I think she's almost getting too big to be in my lap. So, you wanna go? Anyway, say hi. You guys take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.